Hello and welcome to My Living Room. I'm Kathleen Hershner. A few months ago, I made some videos for the company I work for. They're starting an internet television website. And I made a couple of different video programs for them. And when I was looking at the programs afterwards, I was horrified to see that I actually looked on film as old as my age is. I certainly don't feel 46, but when I watched the videos, I was really surprised at how harsh the eye of the camera can be on your face. It doesn't do you any favors. Even with the proper makeup, you still look worse than you think you're going to look. So when I found out that I was going to start a television program, Aprende Inglés, My Living Room, I decided that I needed to do something about some aspect of my appearance. And so I had the good fortune of meeting a mutual friend from the man that I work with. And he's here with me in the studio today. And we've got a lot to learn from this man. He's very special and a very charismatic person as well. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Francisco Paco Abril to
Paco,
My Living Room.
Hello, Kathleen.
Paco, it's great to have you here in the studio. You and I have become friends over the course of meeting for a couple of times, once for a consultation and once for a surgical procedure. So I feel really comfortable talking to you about what you did with me recently. We talked about doing something a bit more radical, but I decided I didn't have time. And so instead I allowed you to inject something into my lips. So I'd actually have lips. And it worked really well. It was painful, but it was worth it.
Painful? Really painful?
Well, it was really painful. Yeah, you hurt me. What do you think? Does it look okay?
Well, I think it's great. Really, it really does. You know.
I have lips now.
You look great before, but now you look very, very nice.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, really.
Well, you're a well-known plastic surgeon here in Europe.
Well, I've been around, yeah. I've been around.
You've been doing this for how many years?
Oh, 13 years.
30
years, yeah.
30 years. What's your specialty in plastic surgery?
Well, I mostly do noses, but I do everything.
Yeah.
I do facelift, I do augmentation mammoplasty, I do blepharoplasty with the eyes.
With the eyes?
And I do liposuction, like everybody does too. I do mostly all the the fight in plastic surgery.
Well, your practice is here, centered in Madrid.
Yeah.
But before we came on the air, you told me that you went down to Malaga and that you actually did surgery down there.
Well, I got
what a great job.
Well, I'm from Andalusia myself, I'm from,
what
from
city?
Granada.
You're from Granada.
From Granada, right. So I have a little house in Malaga, in Benalmádena, which is in Malaga.
Benalmádena.
Yeah, Benalmádena in Malaga. I have a little house there, I have a little boat too. And I go once in a while, like every month I go there, and I do surgery sometimes. I mean, every month I do a couple of surgeries.
So there's a hospital there that you work out of.
Yeah, I have.
You don't do surgery out of your home.
No, never. Well, in the kitchen sometimes. Not really. No, I'm very serious about that.
Yeah.
All the surgery you have to do in the hospital.
Of course.
Of course, in the hospital. You have to have a recovery room. You have to go to anesthesiologist. I mean, they're nothing, Some people does surgery, in the office.
Do they really?
Yeah, but if you got a nice office with recovery room, everything, you can do it with anesthesiologist at the same time. But other ways you have to do in the hospital, in the good clinic.
Well, because you could have a complication.
Oh, you can have a lot of complications.
Friends of mine that have children at home, this is a new popular thing to do in the United States. They want to have children at home. And I always say to them, why would you have a child at home in 2007 if you don't have to? I mean, if you have the slightest complication, it's better to be in the hospital, of course. Now, do most plastic surgeons do work on all parts of the body, or are you unusual in that respect? I mean, do plastic surgeons have specialties and only do noses, or only do facelifts, or do most of you do everything?
Yeah, we do everything. I mean, in Spain, especially in Spain, we do almost everything, Yeah. But, in the state, I was living in the state for a while, I know very well the state, the state.
You went to UCLA, didn't
yeah,
you?
I was working in UCLA in this early 70s, when I did my training in plastic surgery, part of my resident training in UCLA. So at this time, there are some guys, he only do noses. Other people only do breasts. They're specialists, Other people do chemical peeling,
Or there are people who only do liposuction?
Well, not this time.
Yeah.
But some people now do only liposuction. Other people do hair transplant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
only that, because there are so many people who want to do that.
Well, you're looking at a country that's of 200 million plus people versus a country like Spain. So it's to your benefit if you can do a lot of different procedures. Do you have to go to a lot of seminars to keep up with the current technology?
Yeah, every
all doctors do this
2 or 3 times a year. I go into South America, North America, or some places in Europe around, just to give conference, give talk, all that, to listen to the people, because you have to learn a lot, from people, and you never know everything. You have to.
You learn a lot from colleagues, from sharing information.
Sharing information, right?
Well, in the second half, I'm going to have you on for the whole show today. So in the second half of the
Being
hour,
around you is a pleasure, always.
It's my pleasure. But we can talk in greater detail about rhinoplasty, which is one of the things that you do the most, facelifts. I suppose we could talk about liposuction, although that's a topic that seems a bit strange to me.
You have to be very careful with the liposuction, We talk about liposuction later on if you want to.
Well, but you're such an interesting person that I'd like to spend the first half of the show allowing the listeners to get to know you a little bit better and know more about some of your interests, because you're not just interested in plastic surgery. Your life isn't just about being a doctor. You have many, many other interests, and you have an interesting background as well. You mentioned that you're from Granada, so you grew up in Andalusia.
Yeah, I grew up in Andalusia. En mi sangre es andaluza.
Your blood is Andalusian.
Eso es.
So you're an Andalusian at heart. And if people go to your website, they can read a very interesting story that you wrote about yourself and about your background. And I think your website is www.franciscoabril.
Abril, yeah.
franciscoabril.com.
Okay.
And I read this last night. I've read it before, but I wanted to refresh my memory. And I really liked learning more about how the way you grew up influenced your decision to become ultimately a doctor. But you had done you did other things before that.
Well, I did so many things in my life. I'm very happy for that.
You're a Renaissance man.
I'm not, a plastic surgeon. I am not a doctor. Just a doctor because,
You have to make money.
That's make money.
Yeah.
I don't work for money.
No, but money but having a career where you can make money to pay for your other interests.
Of course,
is important.
I started doing physical education. I am a teacher in physical education.
I know that now.
I remember 2 months ago, I was invited to the 40th anniversary of the first promotion of the INEF. It's Institut Nacional de Educación Física, National Institute of Physical Education. Okay. I was invited for the first promotion. I was a teacher at this time.
For the 40th?
40 promotion.
40th reunion?
Yeah.
Really? And this was 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was a couple of months ago.
Was it here in Madrid?
Yeah, in Madrid, in INEF, Instituto Nacional de Educación Física, National Institute for Physical Education. I was professor there, I was teaching, at this time. Right. So I started with that, later on, I went to State for plastic surgery. I finished my physical education training, like professor. And I went to the United States, or UCLA, and I spent a lot of time there, 3 years.
You were in Los Angeles, which is University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA is in Los Angeles. You were there for 3 years, and that's where you studied.
I went from UCLA to San Francisco. I was working.
My favorite city.
I left my heart in San Francisco.
So did I.
So, I was working in St. Francis Hospital, Hyde Street.
Yep.
I was working there for in a year too, and visited Mexico for 6 months too.
You went to Mexico.
Mexico City.
And did you practice there after you graduated?
No practice, doing training.
Do you think that your interest in well, first of all, physical education allowed you to pursue your career as a doctor because you were able to get enough money teaching. I read this on his website.
That's right.
I'm not clairvoyant.
No.
But I read that and I thought, well, that's what resourceful people do. If you have a goal in mind, and it seems like a goal that might be unattainable, you have to start, little by little, poco a poco, and make the steps or take the steps necessary to make it happen. But do you think your interest in physical education sort of made you start thinking about being a doctor, or did you always want to be a doctor?
I want to be a doctor, always.
Yeah.
I want to be a doctor, but the way to be a doctor is to pay my career,
Yeah.
working as a professor in physical education.
Well, you learned a lot about the body.
Yeah, but I love it. I still do. Yeah. I still do exercise every day.
Really? What do you do?
Well, I do a little, running like everywhere. Everything. I still doing. I'm very old now.
No, you're not.
I'm getting old.
No, you, Paco. Viewers, you wouldn't be able to guess
I have
Paco's
been
age, so we're not.
30 years in the business.
Okay, there's a clue. He's
The
been a
festival.
doctor for 30 years, so if you
30,
do the
30,
math and you
30
figure
and
out.
30.
Okay,
We are on the 60s.
You're a little bit older than 50.
Well,
You look really good. My dad was also a physical education
Really?
professor and a football player.
where, in San Francisco?
No, in the Midwest, in Illinois.
I don't know.
And he was a football coach, and he's 75 now. And he looks great. He looks younger than 75 because every day he goes walking. He walks for 2 or 3 miles, and he
That's
doesn't
good.
walk in the Spanish way, he walks for exercise. And for him, that's all he needs to do. He said, as long as I walk every day, play golf once in a while, and eat reasonably well.
That's very important.
Yeah.
That's very important, Kathleen. I mean, everyone has to walk at least half an hour every day.
To get your heart going.
Yeah.
To get the blood going to your face.
If you went to in the bus, why you didn't stop one stop before
Yeah, I agree.
and go walking to the work?
Well,
or
I don't have a
wherever?
car living in Madrid, so I walk everywhere, and I don't exercise as much as I used to, but I feel like I'm moving every day. And ever since I've met you, I've been conscious of taking a little bit better care of my skin, drink a lot of water, and try to cut down on how much I smoke, because I know that...
Do you smoke?
A little bit.
Ah,
I know.
You
Ancient
smoke?
Chinese secret.
pay attention.
No, I smoke a little bit. I'm trying to smoke less because I know that people that smoke do...
For the skin,
it does age
for
the
the
skin.
lung,
Yeah,
for everything.
it's not good. Well, let's get back to your Andalusian past. One of your passions, other than physical fitness, is Andalusian food. And you and I have talked about starting a cooking show.
Yeah.
We've
You
been
remember
sort
that?
of
Yeah.
discussing this.
I remember last year, I guess, I was inviting in TV, the Spanish TV, the first, and I was inviting in Inés Ballester in the morning.
The state channel?
Yeah, I was cooking.
You were cooking?
En
Yeah.
directo.
Yeah, really?
En directo.
Live.
En directo.
What did you cook?
Alive, yeah, sí.
What did you cook?
Rice with shrimp, with special rice,
Like
like a paella.
Not paella, but
No, paella,
similar?
but similar. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it's very difficult to cook in the same time and talk. And he showed me, some interview of mine, like a few years ago. I mean, maybe 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And I asked me, why did you say that? I mean, about this woman, what do you do with this woman? They say,
So they
the
were making-
rice. Pay attention to the rice because.
So the person that you were cooking with was distracting you
Yeah, all
by
the time.
asking you a bunch of questions.
Inés Ballester. I hate it.
it makes it
it's
seem-
a beautiful woman.
It makes it seem very easy to do what we're doing today, which is just to sit and have a normal conversation. Because really, we are having, this is the way we talk when we're together. But I can't imagine trying to cook something and talk to you at the same time.
It's really difficult. It's really difficult
It's
because
sort of
you
one
do
of, one of these things where you
That's very,
pat your head and rub your stomach. No, it is difficult because you have to not only think about cooking, but think about entertaining the person that you're talking to and try to sound
watching TV
intelligent
and say,
and watch them on
let's do this to this woman, Isabel Presley or whatever. And say, ask me about her. I said, the rice.
Let's
We're
talk about
cooking
the
rice.
rice.
I mean, pay attention with.
Well, now, I'm assuming that work as a plastic surgeon or as a doctor in general when you're performing surgery can be very stressful. Do you find that cooking helps you relax? A lot of people cook for the purpose of relaxation.
I love it. I love cooking.
Takes your mind off
Yeah,
of
yeah.
what you're doing.
I love, I like to, meet some people, and take to my house and cook myself.
Well, you cooked paella for us one afternoon.
I remember,
And
yeah.
it was delicious. Paco makes a mean paella. You cook it outside, which I think is
Do you remember?
typically
It was
Spanish.
in summertime, yeah.
It was in the summertime, and it was interesting to watch because Paco is a person a little bit like me who has his mind in many different
Crazy
places,
neuronas.
a little bit crazy neurons. But when you were cooking, you were totally focused, and I assume that's how you are when you're a surgeon.
Yeah.
You have a job to do, and you have to shut out all of the other.
Well, in my house, in the summertime, I can talk to you
Yeah.
and make up.
Well, you were relaxed, but you were still focused on what you were doing.
Yeah, of course.
And it was
in
delicious.
surgery, I'm so straight in surgery, really.
You're strange?
Oh, straight.
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 Strange in surgery?
Straight.
That's kind of scary.
No, straight, because I don't talk. I don't do anything. Just surgery.
Do you have music on in
No,
the
no, no,
background?
no,
So it's not
nothing,
like the
nothing.
television shows
No,
with
no, no,
doctors
no.
where they have
No,
rock music on.
Talking about football, no.
no.
I do surgery. I don't talk. Nobody talk. No noise. Nothing.
I like
Really?
that. Complete silence.
But you don't lose time in this way.
Yeah.
Because you do surgery and surgery and surgery and surgery.
Well, and isn't the objective to complete the surgery in the least amount of time? I mean, without extra time. I mean, you don't want somebody to be under anesthesia any longer than they need to be.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But otherwise, if you don't lose your time and you go straight or whatever you want to do, the edema is less.
Yeah.
It's less edema.
So there's less buildup of blood
Right.
under the skin when
because
you work
if you
fast.
start doing things, it's going edema,
When Paco,
hematoma.
Oh, hematoma, what is a hematoma actually?
The blood collection.
Okay, so it's a blood clot.
Yeah.
When you injected my lips with this miracle drug, you didn't waste any time. We didn't sit down and chat for a few minutes. I was a little bit nervous, I'll admit. And I remember you came in and it was just like immediately. We just started doing the
I do a
procedure.
little anesthesia.
Well, I had
Remember?
anesthesia. But we didn't spend too much time waiting for that. And it was a little painful, but I kept thinking to myself, okay, I know it's worth it. I know it's worth it. Because it went from having no lips to having a little bit of lip. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
But you look, artificial.
I look normal. I think so. One of your other interests is in the world of art. I know that you have an artistic gene, as well as these crazy neurons.
Yeah.
You have a crazy art neuron.
As a matter of fact, when I was around 20, 21 years old, I met Salvador Dali.
You met Salvador Dali. That's
Yeah.
right. I remember that. There's some
I met
photographs
Salvador
of you
Dali,
with Salvador. How did you end up meeting Dali?
Well, I met him in the Costa Brava.
Yeah.
At this time, I was, looking around. And I met Salvador Dali. It was a very interesting, part of my life because, I watched him to do his painting, and it wasn't crazy at all.
Very normal in
Very
person.
normal,
Was he? Did he
Yes,
befriend you?
like sometimes, but normally he's very clear about everything.
Were you friends? Did he
Well,
befriend
friends
you?
so
or-
far,
Yeah,
I
but he
spent 1
invited
month
you-
with him.
He invited you to his house?
Yeah, I was living in his house.
You were living
Because,
in his
yeah,
house?
I was at this time with a woman
Yeah.
who was, she was a model for him.
Oh, so you were able to meet him through a woman that you were
Yeah,
dating
yeah.
at the time.
At the time.
And did he have an influence on you? I mean, did you know you were artistic before you met Dali?
No.
So he
I-
sort of opened up
yeah,
this...
he opened my mind at this
Really?
time. She was interesting, yeah. After that I did, I started doing drawings, I started doing sculpture a little bit. And later on, I have a great collection, a large collection, I would say, in my sculpture, in bronze. I do,
So you were interested in, ultimately, in doing sculpture of the
Yeah.
body, and people
Bronze,
can see these
yeah.
sculptures on your website, in bronze.
in bronze, yeah.
Do you, this is a strange question, I'm gonna ask it, I've always wondered this. It seems kind of strange that a doctor, who I think of as an analytical person, would also have this really expressive, creative side. But in the world of plastic surgery, it seems as though those two
You had
things
to be.
go very well together.
You had to be.
Do you feel like you're a bit of an artist in terms of working with the body?
Of course. everyone, the plastic surgeon I know, had to be a little bit, artist, because you had to see the face of the person, you had to look at the eyes, you had to do the distance of the nose, the mouth, and the body.
You're working with an aesthetic. It's sort of, I have some dentist friends who like to work in art.
I think the same one.
But I think you're working with something that has a visual aesthetic to it, not just something that you can't see. A doctor that's a heart specialist or one that works on other parts of the body. These are areas that don't have to be visually beautiful. So in other words, your art background has helped your plastic surgery.
And I do sculpture. I did for the different specialities in medicine, like I do for OBGYN, obstetrics and gynecologists, for plastic surgery, for ophthalmology, different,
So are some of these sculptures in offices of other doctor friends of yours?
Sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
Sometimes, I give a present, sometimes you get married sometimes.
You'll give me a sculpture? I know which one I want. Paco, you can see it on the website. He has a sculpture of a dancer, and she's balancing on a toe. And it's quite beautiful.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Also, I have to get married to get one of these?
Yeah, you get married. Why not? Talking all the time to be single and come on.
Well, actually, I've seen your sculptures. I like them very much. They probably appeal to doctors as well because they're of parts of the body. Some of the sculptures that you've created, I didn't know what they were. I had to read, that this is a fibula or, there's some.
But that one thing is interesting. I take a part of the body, microscopic part of the body, and make bigger.
Yeah.
And I do a sculpture with that, like a piece of the skin. Yeah. The skin have different level.
The skin is if you've seen a cross-section of skin, it's very interesting.
It's very interesting. Different level of the cells,
Like
so
a bocadillo.
I did a sculpture. Yeah.
I
did a sculpture about that, yeah.
Well, now, do you ever find that with you trying to balance your work as a plastic surgeon and as an artist and also to find time to keep yourself in shape, do you feel that you don't have as much free time as you'd like, or do you find that at this point in your career you have you're kind of where you want to be?
I think it's very important because how much you want to work. I mean, you can work every day.
Well, you worked hard when you were younger,
come on.
so now you can enjoy.
When I was younger, I worked a lot, but not anymore. I mean, you have to do things, special things, that you enjoy doing the things, the rhinoplasty or this operation. I enjoy very much doing this thing, but I enjoy very much, have a glass of wine with my friends.
Or getting on your little boat.
A couple this time. You're in your living room and you don't invite me to drink anything.
I know. Maybe we can solve that problem in the second half of the show. We're about ready to take a break, but when we come back, maybe we'll have some tapas. I like this notion of having it be a real living room.
Really?
Because in a Spanish living room, you'd have a little tapas, you'd have some vino.
You invite to your house, you have to give me.
It's not too early. I don't have my watch on, but I think it's about the right time. When we come back in the second half, I'd like to go into more detail because I think some of the viewers are curious, especially women my age, are very curious about what could I do, what should I do, what can I do, and what is the necessary time for convalescing or for recovery. And I think for people that are in their mid-40s, getting towards 50, they're starting to think, look, I have a limited amount of time left to be young, and I want to look good during that time.
You have to be careful with that. You have to be young.
Well, it's not, but to look as good as you can look.
Feel much better, the word I would say.
So we can talk about facelifts, which I think you call lifting in Spanish, or facelifts, and rhinoplasty, which we call nose jobs.
Nose jobs,
And what do you call this?
Blepharoplasty.
Blepharoplasty, to sort of
the
take
eyes,
some of the...
take the extra skin and the fat and everything.
I can't believe I'm doing this to myself. Or...
how about augmentation?
Well, I don't need... I hope I don't need that yet. And then liposuction, which is a real problem for some people. So when we come back, we'll go into greater detail with the world of plastic surgery with my guest today, Dr. Francisco Abril, also known as Paco. Stay tuned for the second half of the show. We'll be right back.